Hi everyone. Um, so I'm still working on this review for the 50mm 1.2s and the 70 to 200Z. I know it's taking longer than expected. Um, to be honest, I'm still kind of trying to get accustomed to the lens before I make a sound review on the lenses. So I figured I'll be doing this channel a huge disservice if I just go through the quick motions and give my thoughts when I don't really know how to use like all of its features. So while I go through that, and it will probably take days, weeks, and maybe when the new camera arrives. But what I'll probably do, if it takes longer than expected, I'll make short videos like this, so that at least there's some information for users out there on the way I use it, because I know a lot of users out there are not really professionals. But anyway, so the reason I'm making this video is that, as you probably may or may not know, Nikon has released a major update on the Z6 and Z7 version 3.0, and I'm not going to bore you with details of what it's included. The one that's relevant here is the autofocus improvements, specifically the Iaf improvements, in terms of being able to focus accurately and the refresh rate of the box focus on the Iaf. Now, why is this significant, right? So here I have my Z6 here already updated with the new firmware, and before the firmware update, with the 51.2, in my few weeks that I've owned the lens, I would say when you're shooting the lens that's at really shallow depth of fields, like say 1.2 or 1.4 or even at 1.8, I wouldn't really trust the Iaf for any of those at those apertures, especially when there's like less than ideal lighting condition. Now, with the new 3.4 firmware update, that changes things. In my short, like, you know, I just updated the camera yesterday, and in my short experience about, like, you know, using the lens with the version 3.4, again with the original Z6, and I figure this is also applicable to the original Z7, you can now you can now trust the Iaf to do a good job on focusing on the eyes for Iaf. So yeah, it's back on the menu. So it's not something that you'll have to switch to pin, or like pin focus, or like, you know, small, like single autofocus points. You can actually trust in the Iaf now on large apertures, even at 1.2. In my test, I have like a significantly higher hit rate on Iaf on 1.2 and 1.4 compared to the, like, you know, in the previous firmware, and this is with like even less than ideal conditions. The Iaf actually, like, you know, there's a high hit rate on focus now. Previously, like, you know, it was so frustrating to use with the Z6 because I cannot trust the Iaf on like 1.2, 1.4 for focusing. I'm using the pin AF for that. But now it's a huge upgrade or improvement that you can now trust the Iaf, I guess, for the most part, knowing the limitations of the Z6, being it's like 3 years old already. But yeah, considering how, like, you know, the age of its technology, it's actually doing a stellar job on the 51.2. So there you go. If you have the 51.2, upgrade to the latest version. You will not be disappointed.